The monkey, the scariest thing you'll hear tonight. In the middle of the dense Louisiana bayou stood a massive tree no one dared approach after sunset. Locals called it the screaming tree. Gnarled, blackened limbs reached out like claws, and the moss-covered trunk bled a thick, sticky sap the color of blood. Jed and his cousin Ricky were bored teens looking for a thrill. They'd heard the stories from their granny about the monkey, the twisted things that lived in the shadows and fed on mischief and souls. Not monkeys, no, Granny warned. They look like but they ain't no monkeys. They scream like babies and laugh like men. That night, high on liquid courage and bravado, Jed and Ricky went out to the tree with flashlights and a stolen camcorder. The swamp was quiet. Too quiet. No frogs, no crickets. Just the sound of their boots squelching in the mud and the occasional rustle in the trees above. They reached the screaming tree around midnight. It stood like a sentinel, rotted and ancient. "Guess it ain't so scary," Ricky muttered. Then the tree groaned. Not from the wind. It sounded alive. From deep in the bark, a hand emerged. Black-skinned, long-fingered, wrong. Jed screamed. The hand twisted and pulled, and something peeled itself from the trunk. It stood upright, hairless, pink-eyed, a stretched-out caricature of a monkey with human teeth, far too many. It giggled. Another dropped from a branch. Then another. Soon, they were surrounded. "Jed," Ricky whispered, trembling. The first one screamed, a high-pitched, infant-like wail that echoed through the swamp. They rushed. Jed ran. Ricky didn't. Jed stumbled back into town at sunrise, covered in blood that wasn't his. He couldn't speak. Couldn't scream. Just shook, over and over. Sheriff Hal thought it was drugs until he found Ricky's body. Or what was left of it. His eyes had been gouged out, sockets stuffed with twigs. His lips were sewn shut with moss. His skin had tiny handprints, hundreds of them, burned into it. The town panicked. People whispered of the monkey again. Old stories from the Civil War days. About spirits that looked like monkeys, but mimicked pain and laughter to lure the curious. That fed on guilt. Jed's mother tried to pray over him, but he only whispered one thing over and over: "Don't laugh. They hate when you laugh." He was locked in the attic that night for safety. But come morning, only his teeth were left. Arranged in a smile. The walls were covered in little fingerprints, and the phrase, "We told you not to laugh," was scrawled in blood. And far in the woods, at the foot of the screaming tree, a new figure dangled from the branches. Hollow-eyed. Grinning wide. 2 weeks after Jed disappeared, the sheriff boarded up the path to the screaming tree. But the monkeys came anyway. First, it was just laughter. Soft, distant, like children giggling from behind walls. Then came the scratching. From under beds, behind mirrors, inside closets. People heard it everywhere. Little Haley Burns was the first to vanish. Her mother said she heard her daughter talking to the furry smile man in the closet. "He told me a joke," she giggled. "But he said I had to come in to hear the punchline." They found Haley's room empty the next morning, except for a small wooden box. Inside were her teeth. And a tape recorder. The tape played only one thing: her laughing. Louder and louder until it turned into animal screeching. The laughter didn't stop. It bled through the town. People began hearing it in their sleep. Dreaming of long, bony fingers stroking their faces. Of red eyes blinking from ceilings. Of giggles that turned into screaming right before they woke up. Pastor Willis tried an exorcism. By the end of the sermon, he was laughing hysterically. Ripping his own lips off. "Too funny," he cackled. "Too funny to stay sane." The townsfolk buried him in silence. No prayers. No hymns. They were too afraid of laughing. Walls began to pulse. Not metaphorically. Literally. People in their homes could feel them breathing. Pushing in and out like lungs. The wood swelled and groaned. Blood began to leak from cracks. Martha Jean, a retired nurse, opened her bathroom mirror to find it empty. No reflection. Just darkness. Then she heard scuttling. Inside the mirror. Fast, erratic, playful. She blinked, and something blinked back. Red eyes. A wide grin. It crawled out of the mirror, dragging its two long limbs behind it like wet ropes. She was found 2 days later. Or pieces of her were. Stuffed into the ventilation system. Her mouth sewn into a smile and stretched over a doll's face. Her eyes? Gone. But the wallpaper in her hallway now bore handprints. So many of them. All child-sized. The town held an emergency meeting at the chapel. No one noticed the small figure clinging to the ceiling beam above them, chuckling. By nightfall, 5 more people were gone. The walls of the chapel breathed for 3 days after. Old man Crenshaw had a theory. Said the monkey were reflections that came alive. They ain't real, not till you look too long. Then they copy ya. And they come out. The mayor laughed at him. That night, the mayor's daughter played a tick-tock game in the bathroom mirror. Lights off. Say the monkey's joke 3 times. She laughed. Then screamed. Neighbors heard crashing, then silence. They kicked the door in. The mirror was gone. Not broken. Gone. Just a black hole in the wall, sucking wind and giggles. She was never found. But 3 nights later, her voice was heard coming from every mirror in town. Wanna hear something funny? Every mirror was covered. Every reflective surface smashed. But they started seeing the monkeys in puddles. In glass. In shadows. Everywhere. Eyes. Grins. Fingers. Waiting. The town tried to evacuate. Tried. The bridge collapsed in the middle of the night. Cars left town and turned up wrapped in vines, tires melted, and inside, nothing but laughter playing from the radios. Sheriff Hell set the school on fire after he found the principal dancing with 3 of the monkey things in the gym. They had his face stitched onto their heads. Mocking. Screaming. Laughing. The smoke didn't rise. It curled, twisted, took shape, hundreds of monkey-like forms swirling above the town, grinning down. Then came the feast. People woke up unable to move. Paralyzed. Paralyzed by laughter. Skin prickling. Eyes wide. And the sound of teeth, biting, crunching, peeling. But when anyone tried to scream, they laughed instead. The streets flowed with red. The sky turned black. And above it all, the screaming tree wailed like a mother losing her children. Only one person escaped. That survivor was a vlogger named Lexi Dale. She live-streamed the whole thing. Her footage showed her shaking, hiding in an attic, the sound of giggles echoing through the vents. In the video, you could hear soft whispers. Smile, smile, smile. She never spoke. Only cried. Until the very end. Then she smiled. The feed glitched. Hundreds of red-eyed, hairless monkey things filled the screen. The stream cut out. But the footage remained online for a while. Anyone who watched it said they heard laughter afterward. For hours. Sometimes days. Some claimed they saw their own reflections grin back at them when they didn't smile. Lexi was found in her apartment weeks later. Mouth torn open from ear to ear. Scrawled on the wall in her blood was one final message. They are not monkeys. They are jokes without punchlines. And still, in the deep swamp, the screaming tree waits. If you get too close, you might hear them. Giggling. Sniffing the air. Waiting to make you laugh. Until you never stop.